Welcome to Fresh Eyes Upon the World with Neil Grace. During the next half hour or so, we're going to spend some time with Neil Grace. He's an adventurer, he's an entrepreneur, and most important of all, I've called him a prophet because he is a prophet for the 21st century. His book, Fresh Eyes Upon the World, is now this, a podcast. Now listen to the title of our podcast, Making Life a Spectacular Journey. And I'm just throwing this out to Neil. He has no idea what I'm going to ask him, but you listen to these words of wisdom from this man. Neil, can anybody have a spectacular life?
Mark, as a matter of fact, everybody deserves and needs and wants a spectacular life. It is inherent. It is our predisposition as human beings, as individuals, to have a life that unfolds, a trajectory of an existence that is spectacular, that is wonderful, warm, content, adventurous, fun, frivolous. Yes. Now, what happens for all of us is that we get trumped by the conditioning process. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's not what you're talking about. Okay.
No,
this was not a political discussion. Okay.
No. We get vexed, we get thrown, we get trampled by things that hurt us, rejections, betrayal, denial, disappointments, disillusionment, disenfranchisement, all the negative things that bombard us. But we can take responsibility for ourselves. It behooves us to be skillful in navigating our lives down the path that is going to be magical and mystical. It's a spiritual adventure, and everyone deserves this, everyone needs this, and it is available to everybody on the planet. So the heart is a flower that wants to open to the sunlight. The sunlight is never leaves us. So remember that metaphor.
Is there enough for everybody? I mean, we have billions of people on the planet. Is there enough food, water, and, I don't know, magic so that everybody can have a spectacular life?
Absolutely. Everybody, there's enough, there's an amplitude of food. The production of food has not reached its maximum. There's enough water. Many people struggle, admittedly, sadly, and unfortunately. Many people don't have running water in their homes. I think maybe 25% of all the people on the planet. Many people don't have enough food. There's a distribution problem. There are inherent problems in the infrastructures of societies, and many nations are plagued and beleaguered with inadequate distribution of the resources. But on the planet, there is enough.
What you're saying is that, maybe in California, where you and I are based, there's an abundance of strawberries. I'm just using that as an example. And some other place in the world, they don't have strawberries.
But they have other items and other things to eat. Right. There's enough to sustain everybody. There's enough magic in the world. There's enough beauty in the world. But remember, how we receive these things, how we define them, how we interpret them individually, the filters we use to perceive life, to experience life, the thinking mechanism that we use, whether we hide ourselves and try to be invulnerable, whether we try to deny these things, it is our journey that we're choosing, our own journey of how we want to live a quality life.
What you're saying then is that if I'm miserable, I'm making myself miserable.
In a way, yes, but also not to deny or suppress the truth that you might be in a terrible, dire condition. You might be sick. You might have people that are hurting. You might be hurting financially. You might be hurting health-wise, emotionally. The suffering, the struggle, the duress of life is a reality too. Now, those things can be balanced with an attitude of gratitude, with a sense of appreciation, with a sense of vitality that is unflappable, unstoppable, untethered by the suffering or the struggle you're going through. Dealing with suffering requires a resourcefulness, requires an opportunity for you to tap into your ability to manage these things and also to resolve them. Everybody has the solution within himself or herself. We can resolve these issues, even though some of them are pretty daunting. Mark, unquestionably, we can resolve them. We can go on. We're not mired and stuck permanently in suffering. Remember that.
It seems to me that many people struggle against themselves. It's the poor me kind of attitude. Can you comment on that?
Yes, it's the poor me. It's low self-esteem. It's they bought into a program, whether it's internally perpetuated or externally brought to them, a program that says you are inadequate, you are not good enough, you are a wretched person. That is such a disease, a disorder of madness. It's really a sense of madness that's infiltrated our minds. That individual's mind has bought into a program that is denying the spontaneity of life, that is denying the garden of beauty, that is denying beauty itself. Now, what that person needs to do is massive therapy, massive internal reframing and revamping of their personality and of their thinking modality, because their thinking has been poisoned by all of this stuff that they tell themselves and reinforce this over and over again. I am miserable. I am a failure. That is the antithesis of what life is. Human life should be an explosion of joy, an explosion of awakening to the magic and to the variety, the endless variety of things that exist on the planet that are very stimulating and very uplifting and very inspirational.
Taking a look at many people, though, we, as you said, we are bombarded by God, the universe, Jesus, whatever you believe in. There are obstacles to life. We lose a friend. We lose a family member to a painful death. We lose a child, which is just so hard to imagine, or a grandchild. How do we accept this? You and I talked about this the other day, where I said I really do not like the phrase God works in mysterious ways. I want to know the answer.
Well, too bad. You can't know the answer, the ultimate answer to how the universe works. I don't think anyone knows how things work. It seems to be very all over the map. There is sadness. People lose children. People lose parents. People get sick. People have unexpected financial burdens and hardship. However, these things, the heart is going to weep. Life is a duality. There will be beautiful moments and there will be sad moments. But again, in order to prevail, we need to make sure that we are continuing on marching to the rhythm, to the beat of who we are, our individual personality, that we're continuing to move forward, that we're not being so bombarded or so stuck and mired in the suffering that we lose our love of life and eventually we'll just collapse into irretrievable grief. We have to have the strength to go on. And that's not easy, admittedly. But it is required if we're going to love life and live a healthy quality life.
It's difficult when you lose somebody. They die, they pass away. And maybe in a future show we'll talk about your thoughts about, is there an afterlife, and do we come back, reincarnation? We'll save that. But to me, the most important life is not an afterlife. To me, it's what we do here, how we help others, how we help our family, our friends, and ourselves. And so when there is a major obstacle that provides a barrier, jumping over that barrier, as you said, is difficult, but sometimes it seems insurmountable.
Hmm.
What techniques can we use to jump, to hurl that barrier?
Well, there are a lot of things that we can do if it's really so severe and so pervasive that it seems um, impossible to heal. We need to get to therapy. We need to see a counselor before we do something destructive to ourselves. That's why people commit suicide, sadly and tragically. We need to take steps every day to meditate, to breathe, to read, to journal our lives and to write things down that are going to impart a sense of wisdom and a sense of revitalization to us. We need to talk to friends. We need to seek out family. We need to go to a religious organization and talk to the person in charge, the person who's knowledgeable about how to fix these things or how to tend to these things. We need to also, beyond all these external things which are viable and worthwhile and effective, we need to sit with ourselves and pray and say, I am going to be the sovereign commander of my journey, and I will overcome this. I will move on. This will not last interminably. I will prevail successfully. We have to reinforce that. And yes, Mark, it is extremely challenging, but we have no choice, inevitably, to do this or to sink into total despair.
This is Making Life a Spectacular Journey. Our guest, our master, if you will, is Neil Grace, and he has made a spectacular life. We've discussed that in previous editions. Very quickly, Neil, are you really living a spectacular life?
Yes, absolutely. My life is very spectacular. Now, when I say spectacular, let me define and qualify that. There are moments and there are times when I feel a little bit lethargic, a little bit low in energy, when I feel that I feel sadness, I feel disappointed. But I own those feelings because they come from the heart, and that's part of life too, that they're not the most singular, predominant force of who I am. They are momentary. They pass through me. And I think it's very healthy to be aware of them, to be conscious of them, and to sit with them and not allow them to devour me, but to experience them deeply, profoundly in my heart, in my soul, and then to continue on consciously making the decision, taking the action to say, where can I go next to feel, to experience something spectacular, something wonderful, something that's going to be very encouraging, something that's going to bathe me in a light of joy. Where can I go next? Because when you really think about it, this world has a plethora of magical, amazing things all the time, and they're so stimulating and so creative that we can merge with them in a way that will bring us into a state of energetic ecstasy, is what I call it.
Even
And
when
that,
even when Neil is depressed a little bit, down, the stock market slid a little bit, you didn't get a sale, you know, there's some, you had an argument with your wife or a friend. Even when you're a little bit, as you said, lethargic, you turn inside to bring yourself out of it.
yes, I do that. I also don't let those momentary um, descents upset us or hurt us. Don't let those things throw us. And I turn inside and I say, they are secondary. They are not the primary force that is propelling me in my experience of this incarnation called life. I've said many times, and in my book, Fresh Eyes Upon the World, I say, we are a guest in a sacred house of life.
Would you say that the obstacles that we all face at one time or another, whether it's the passing or disease, loss of income, loss of a job,
Memories
whatever it
that
may,
don't serve us.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Memories that don't serve us. We live. A
Yes.
lot of people live in the past.
Oh, lots. We should talk about that. But the with the with all these obstacles that we face, we when you're young, the obstacles may feel like the Grand Canyon, and
Well said.
right, especially when you're a teenager, and hormones are raging. You're not sure what the heck you're doing. Um, Peggy Sue goes out with another guy. Another guy goes out with Peggy Sue, um, and the incidence of teenage suicide is astronomical. It's growing right and left. So my thought is, why? I mean, they really don't. They, being teenagers, really haven't experienced, for the most part, the tragedies, the obstacles that older people do.
It's a different set of conditions and circumstances for teenagers, and it's very difficult because what has happened, they're very, very susceptible to outside influences. They're very impressionable. And these outside influences can be very damaging to their emotional stability and equanimity. And unfortunately, they haven't built a strong inner personality, a sense of individuality. They haven't built a strong self-esteem. And teenagers can be, like you said, they're emotionally all over the place. So something can easily come by, even a breeze that is in the wrong direction, and throw them off course. What we need to do as a society, because society is a very complex thing with so many different facets, it's so multifaceted, we need as a society to do everything we can to nurture teenagers, to nurture elderly people, to provide them with safety, with stability, to do things that allow people to feel a sense of security, even though in the world, philosophically, I might digress for a moment, there's nothing really secure about anything. And all security is somewhat false. But in knowing that premise, we can be secure in knowing that everything is momentary, everything is ephemeral, everything is passing. It's like a ship in the night, just passing through the fog, and momentarily we see it and then it's gone again. Everything is that way. What that means for a person like you, Mark, who wants to know things and understand things and have a definitive handle on the reality, it means you're going to have to give it up because you don't know. You don't know. But giving it up doesn't mean resignation. It means transcending. It means accepting this as it is, this incredible unfolding process called life, and that we're conscious of this life. And by doing so, you will evolve into a happier, freer, and more relaxed person who's not
I'm
at the
relaxed.
mercy.
I'm
I
relaxed.
know, you're great. But I'm saying you, any person, not at the mercy of the world, because the world can be a just chaotic, wild, overwhelming place that throws us into a whirlwind.
Taking a look at life in general, do you think that, you know, life here in these United States, and I'm quoting, I guess, a column, a regular column in the Reader's Digest, or at least it used to be there, that most people understand what you're talking about, or most people are at a loss?
I hate to tell you the truth, but I speak the truth. They don't understand. Most people do not understand these things. Most people are caught up in a lot of the day-to-day ordinary, the mundane tasks that have to be taken care of. I've got to go to the CVS or Rite Aid to get toothpaste, and I've got to take care of the kids. I've got to go to work. I've got to prepare for dinner. I've got to do this. I've got to buy a new pair of socks. These things are unavoidable, and they're part of existence too. So these things take people away from being conscious of the larger picture. And part of what I want to promote and what I advocate is be aware of the bigger picture of things. Come from your heart. Integrate your mind, your heart, your spirit in such a way that you are at the commander of your ship. And by doing so, it doesn't mean to be so narrowly focused on the ordinary things. Don't dismiss the ordinary. The ordinary is just as valid as the extraordinary, or the esoteric, or the metaphysical, or the magical, or the spiritual, whatever you want to call it. But we need to balance. We need to integrate all of these things together to form a holistic, healthy whole, a wholeness of who you are. And that wholeness is a beautiful, divine, incredible thing called you. You are a masterpiece of the universe. Despite those moments when you are depressed, or you are hungry, or you felt rejected, or you got hurt because somebody didn't send you a birthday card. When I say you, any person.
Sure.
These things are part of the existence of human life, but we need to be conscientious and conscious within ourselves of not letting certain minor things get blown out of proportion and hurt us and cause us to all the wind to be sucked out of us. We need to be vibrant. We need to stand strong and tall and be proud, not so much egotistically, but proud in who we are, just as basic, loving, compassionate, beautiful beings that are part of the incredible grandeur of the world.
Are we loving human beings? Is that what we're meant to do, to love?
Yes. Yes. We have the potential to love endlessly. We have a great capacity to love. However, again, here I go with the same concept, but this is applicable, and this is the truth. When people get hurt, when they get cut, metaphorically speaking, they get cut by a sad or tragic moment, they don't allow that cut to heal, and that wound festers, and that wound takes us away from being loving. It pulls us away from being innocent, to being transparent, to being vulnerable, to being brave and bold, because we are frightened. We become fearful that we're going to get hurt again. We're going to get cut. We're going to get bruised. The bruises of the world do not shape who we are if we make sure that we can heal them. We need to heal those bruises. And then when you heal them, what are you? A loving, happy, exuberant thing. You're still the child that you were when you were last week. I should say when you're 3 years old. You're still that child, that exuberant, happy child who lives in the moment. Yes, we're adults with thinking apparatus that's much more complex, an emotional network that's much more complex, but still, we're always children underneath everything. And the more we can allow the child to play in the great fields of life, the more we will be fulfilled, enriched, and we will feel at one with all life.
The concept of loving others, of making life, the concept of making life all about love, about helping others, is that part of how we can redeem ourselves?
Excellent point. Yes. Actually, I think the purpose we have in life is to make this transformation, to heal ourselves so that we can be loving. Now, loving, the first step in loving another person or an animal or anything, a painting, a beautiful tree, is to love yourself, to cherish the sacredness of who you are. That is the true message of any spiritual teaching. Love yourself so that you honor and have reverence for yourself. I appreciate myself. I don't need to take over other people's lives. I don't need to be greedy. I don't need to be manipulative or deceptive. I don't need those negative things because I love who I am, so I can share that love with other people, with animals, ineffably, magically, immeasurably, to love beauty, to love a beautiful building, to love a flower, to love a little child, to love a kitten. All these things are possible through the wherewithal within yourself to make sure that you're consciously moving in that direction.
You said to me the other day that you love all kinds of music. I mean, everything I was, you were telling me about opera, I believe. You live in the Bay Area. They have a beautiful opera house there. And do you like music of all kinds, like everything from rock to opera?
Yes, I think music is incredible. I relate to all kinds of music. I love singing. I love the talents that are exhibited in music and in singing and in dance. I mean, I love Broadway shows. I love theater. I think it's such an opportunity to learn so much from watching these shows. You can kind of vicariously put yourself in some of the characters on the stage and really feel what they feel. I mean, this is what life is. It's to get out of ourselves. Too many of us are stuck in our limited self. Get out of yourself. Listen to music. I love marching music. I love John Philip Sousa. I love great opera. I have a friend who's a fabulous baritone, one of the best in the world, Lucas Meacham. He's an incredible opera star, an incredible singer, and I listened to him, and we actually performed. He performed in the same venue as I did at Grace Cathedral in 2016. Music is really the great soother of the soul. Music is the echo of eternity coming back to us and reminding us that we are beautiful beings.
I like, another form of art that I like, because I like Broadway music. We've talked about that as well. Is going to a museum and looking at things, and I look at things that I don't know were used 200 years ago, whether it's a comb, a knife, or even thousands of years old, and I wonder about those people and how they thought, how they lived, the characters. When I'm reading a book, I wonder what happens to those characters when I'm finished the book, because they almost come to life.
Well, you said the most amazing thing for me. One of the subjects which fascinates me more than anything is the evolution of life and the history. I too love to look at these things and wonder about these things, because we are so ensconced in the life we live now. We don't realize it's all in flux. Everything is changing dramatically. I mean, 300 years ago, there was no electricity. There were no automobiles. There was no radio. There was no television. There were no cars. I mean, I can go on. I mean, it's amazing.
Well,
3,000 years ago.
Where were you when, we touched down on the moon? I mean,
that's right. It's 1969.
Right? 1969.
So much is changing.
I remember exactly where I was. Mm-hmm. Do you?
Yes, I was watching TV.
I was too. I was working, and they brought a TV set in to work. It was a Sunday afternoon, and they brought a TV set in to work so we could see it. It was amazing. It truly is.
But studying the history of humanity is an incredibly educational thing to do. It really is. And
Neil, we're just about out of time for our segment, our time together, and it always goes so fast. This is Making Life a Spectacular Journey with Neil Grace. His latest book is called Fresh Eyes Upon the World. If you want information, we've had up throughout our show Neil's website, neilgrace.com, and you can go to Amazon.com and look for his book, Fresh Eyes Upon the World. Neil, thank you very much for spending some time with me and all of us. We really appreciate your insight.
Well, thank you. I loved it, and I really appreciate it and enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll be back next time with more of making life a spectacular journey. I'm Mark Alyn. See you next time.